Okay, now let's get to fire investigation. Now, take notes. So in the fire investigations, the first thing is the fire investigators must be present during the firefighting operations. Why? Why the presence of the fire investigations or fire investigators is very important so that he may establish the initials possibility of what types of objects or things that may cause the fire, no? And also to establish where the fire started. There's a lower ground, middle ground, or upper area. So, malalaman niya kung anong uri ang mga bagay-bagay na nasunog. Depende sa kulay ng apoy, kulay ng usok. Yun ang pinagbabasihan. Now, so, in the fire investigations, so bakit ba nagkakaroon tayo ng sunog? Okay? Unang-una, we need to know first about the pyramid of fire. So mayroon tayong tinatawag na oxygen, fuel, and the heat. The most important in the elements of fire is the fuel. Kasi pag walang fuel, wala talagang sunog. Ano yung fuel? So yung mga combustible material. Okay? Now, arson is the crime of deliberately setting fire to others' property for fraudulent or malicious purposes. Take note, sa definition pala ng fire investigation or ng arson is a crime of deliberately setting fire to others' property for fraudulent or malicious purposes. So ibig sabihin, meron kang evil intent to damage with others' property. If you're setting a fire because you want to damage the other's property, then you will be charged of arson. Now, like I give you one of the case scenario. Pedro, he is weeding the leaves of the tree, and then the day after, he burned the leaves, but accidentally, because of the strong wind blows, the fire traveled spontaneously to the property of Lazaro, in which where his rice stalks are placed. So, dahil sa malakas na hangin, yung apoy kumalat ng mabilis at nasunog yung rice stalk ni Lazaro. Ngayon, is Mr. Pedro can be charged of arson? Okay, the answer is no, because at the first place, Pedro have no intention to damage the property of Lazaro. Although Pedro cannot be charged of arson, but he is civilly liable. Kailangan bayaran niya yung damage na na-incurred niya sa property ni Lazaro. Pero hindi siya pwedeng kasuhan ng arson. Okay. Now, same with the other common crimes, the purpose or the motive is more important to establish. Like for instance, a farmer may intentionally set a fire to pile of leaves or grass in his farmyard, but the fire was accidentally spread to the adjoining lot and burned some fruit-bearing trees. The act or the motive of the farmer is only to get rid of the grass or the leaves and have no intention to disturb other property. Therefore, his act doesn't consider as a crime of arson. Why? Because he do not have a malicious intent. No? His only intent is to rid out the grass, not to rid out the property of his neighbor. Now, but if he have a deliberate intent to set a fire because of his jealousy to his neighbor, then he will be falsely charged of a crime of arson. Kailangan i-establish pa yun. Kaya nga sabi, out of 1,000 cases of arson, swerte na merong 100 dyan or 10% of that na na-file ang kaso at na-convicto. Because in arson, it's very difficult to trace evidence. Why? Because it is not dissimilar to the conventional criminal investigations that you can easily collect evidences or traces of evidence at the scene of the crime, unlike in the fire investigations, all evidences are totally charred or burned. Napakahirap kasi yung ebidensya na disturbo na, nasunog pa. An investigation of fire is a fundamentally search for an information regarding the real causes of fire. The fire investigator presumes on where and how the fire started and then categorize it as a natural, accidental, and or arson. Now, take note, during the firefighting operations, after the fire, once the fire is already controlled, no, it's already controlled. If the cause of fire is not yet determined or established, the fire investigator should presume that the cause of fire is accidental until it proven that the said incident is not accidental but intentional fire. Okay? So hangga't hindi pa nalaman ang accidental muna ang presumptions. Okay. One of the most common technique is questioning techniques used to determine whether what the occupants and the other witnesses might know about the fires. Now, I will not focus mainly on the investigation because that is not our topic kasi meron tayong subject dyan yung fire investigation and technology, no? So, binigay ko lang sa inyo yung basic lang, no? Unang-una, pag hindi pa natin alam kung anong sanhi ng sunog, we need to presume that accidental fire until it must be proven, no? So, kailangan yung presensya ng fire investigator, kailangan kasama siya sa pag-apula ng apoy. Kasi kailangan niyang i-establish ano ang kulay ng usok, ng apoy, yung saan nagsimula yung apoy, no? So doon kailangan establish niya. Okay, combustions and nature of fire. So, what is the very simple term of combustion? Pag sinabi natin combustions, we are referring to burning, no? Yung pagsunog ng chemicals, no? Pareho sa sakyanan, no? So, pag ignite, pag susi na to sa starter, pag crank na to, so mag-revolution man siya. Kaya pag revolution na muna ang pag-start o pagsunog sa gasolina para muinit, no, para mag-combust, para mapadagan ang sakyanan, no, by way of frictions. Okay. Fire and combustions are terms that are frequently used interchangeably. However, fire is a form of combustions or chemical reactions. So, paano ba nagkaroon ng fire? Kasunog. Una, ibalikan natin yung three pyramid of fire. Oxygen, the heat, and the fuel. Ang oxygen, kailangan ba natin hanapin? Hindi natin kailangan hanapin ang oxygen because oxygen is always in our surroundings. Need not to be located for. Okay? Now, ang heat, kailangan ba natin siya? Kailangan maghanap pa tayo ng heat. No? Yung init. Yung fuel, yung initiator. So, kailangan nandiyan may posporo, nandiyan yung combustible materials, o yung bagay na pwedeng magkaroon ng init. Okay. Once the three element meet in one place, so nagkaroon yan siya ng accumulations. So nagkaroon ng oxidation process. So under the pyrolysis study, no? Nag-accumulate. So pag nag-meet na yan sa isang lugar, yun yung tinatawag natin na magkakaroon ng chemical reactions. Ang tawag natin doon is chemical chain reactions. So pag nagkakaroon ng chemical chain reactions, there will be a combustions that may result into burning. So ang tawag natin doon sa chemical reactions in the field of fire investigation or fire chemistry, ang tawag natin doon is fire tetrahedron. Una, kailangan munang magtagbo sa isang lugar ang tatlo, tapos mag-accumulate sila, then magkakaroon ng chemical reactions or chemical chain reactions in order to produce heat and burning. So pag nagkakaroon na siya ng heat at nagkaroon na ng siyang apoy, ang tawag natin doon is chemical chain reactions. And then ang tawag naman natin sa chemical chain reactions under the pyrolysis studies ay fire tetrahedron. Okay? Combustion is a self-sustaining chemical reactions, yielding energy of products that may cause further reactions of the same kind. Combustion is a complex set of chemical reactions that cause or results on the rapid oxidation, yung sabi natin yung proseso na, of fuel producing heat, light, and a variety of chemical byproducts. So, those are the definitions of the combustion. So, although maraming definition of combustion, so, meron na tayong dalawa. Slow oxidation, yung dandaan sa nagproseso, no? Yung nandoon na yung papel, sinindihan na ng sigarilyo. Tulad nung nakita niyo sa video, di ba? Nagkaroon muna ng proseso. Di ba? Ano yun? Yung husk, coconut husk. Then tapos ano yung ginamit niya na may ginamit pa siya na fuel. Wala siyang ginamit na fuel. Ang ginamit niya lang is heat, natural heat. Gumamit siya ng ano? Yung magnifying glass or yung improvised lens. Okay? So, yung isa naman, by fractions, yung katong kuskus niya, no? Itong biscuit, birada. Now, such as thrust of the yellowing of the newspaper, which produce heat slowly, that the combustion does not occur. So, anyway, magkaroon naman tayo ng laboratory nito eh. No? So, hopefully, by next term, we will be having a face-to-face laboratory. Kasi, we are informed na baka ngayong next term, magkaroon ng controlled number of students to a laboratory. So, magla-laboratory talaga tayo, no? When if there is a sufficient excess of heat from the exothermic reactions, it radiates back to fuel to produce vapors and cause ignitions in the absence of the original ignition source. Tulad ng sample natin sa video, wala tayong original ignition source. Ang ignition source natin is yung organic. No, by the extreme heat produced that what we call it, the transfer into an elements, no? So yun. Now let's go to the physical science of fire. Fire is a rapid chemical reactions. Take note the definition of fire. Fire is a rapid chemical reactions. So i-highlight yan. That gives of energy and products of combustions that are very different in composition from the fuel and oxygens that combine to produce two. So kailangan the three elements of the pyramid of fire must present on one place and one time so that there will be accumulations and be resulted into chemical reactions that may produce combustions or the fire tetrahedron. Now, what are the theories of combustions? Fire is a rapid chemical reaction that gives of energy and product combustions that they are the very different components from fuel and oxygen that combine to produce them. For the purpose of simple understanding on how the fire grows in products of combustion materials, it's vital to emphasize the basic theory form physical science of the chemistry of fire. It is also included in related laws on physics. Now, if we talk about fire, we are referring to the law of physics, no, the principles of physics or the physics principles to matters and energy. Ignitions and burning. Before the combustible materials will ignite or burn, we need to understand first the basic concept and importance, the three things in order that fire will occur. And these are the fuel, the oxygen, and the heat. And the most important of the three elements is the fuel. Okay? In order to produce fire, there must be a sufficient heat to vaporize of some fuel. Example, solid fire, liquid fire. To ignite the vapor after it mixes with the oxygen for to sustain burning. The fire must produce enough heat and fuel vapor. This process is frequently called a chain reactions. Yung sabi ko kanina, no? Kailangan mayroong katamtamang init and the fuel vapor. Usually, fuel and oxygen is always in our surroundings. And chain reactions from the phase of the so-called fire tetrahedron. Pagka ang tawag natin ng pag nagkakaroon ng chemical chain reaction, yung chemical chain reaction, pag nagkaroon na siya ng apoy, ang tawag na natin diyon is fire tetrahedron. So, what is fire tetrahedron? For the past several years, the chemistry of fire is always referred to a fire triangle. it is true. This simple example is useful but it's not technically correct. So sabi part triangle. So hindi siya, kasi namin part triangle kasi may fuel, oxygen, and heat. But literally that is not a part triangle. And that is known as tetrahedron. Why? Because that is 5 columns or 5 sides. No? For combustions to occur, 4 components must coexist in order to create fires. Fires can be prevented or suppressed by controlling or removing one or more of the sides of the tetrahedron. So kailangan, we need to eliminate the oxygen, we need to eliminate the fuel. So kailangan mayroong ma-eliminate dyan. With purpose, the so-called components are oxygens, fuel, heat, and the self-sustaining agent. So we need to remove the oxygen, we need to remove the fuel, then we already reduce the self-sustaining agent. So mawawala yung apoy. Okay? Or yung katong kalayo, no? What are the components elements of the fire tetrahedron? Oxygen, known as the oxidizing agent, are those materials that it yield oxygens or other oxidizing gases during the process of a chemical reactions. Again, oxygen is the oxidizing agent. Oxidizers are not themselves combustibles, yes, but they support combustion kasi pag ang oxygen hindi naman yan siya combustible, no? Pero sila yung sumusuporta para magkaroon ng burning or combustions. When combined with the fuel for the purpose of discussion, the oxygens in the air in the surrounding air is considered as the primary oxidizing agent. Take note, if there is a question, which of the following considered as the primary oxidizing agent? The primary oxidizing agent is no other than the oxygen. Okay. Fuel. What is fuel? Fuel is reducing agent. Ang oxygen is oxidizing. Yung siya yung magproseso. Ang fuel is reducing agent. Is the material or substance being burned in the combustion process. Kaya sabi natin siya ang pinaka-importante, no? In a scientific terms, the fuel in a combustion reaction is known as the reducing agent. Most common fuels contain carbon or oil, along with the combinations of hydrogen and oxygen. Fuel, it refers to a material or substance being oxidized, react with oxygen. So kasi pag naano yan ng hangin, so yung ember, so it will produce flame, no? Or will burn in the ignition process. In the field of scientific terms, the word fuel in a combustion or ignition reaction is called as the reducing agent. So again, in the field of scientific terms, the word fuel in a combustion or ignition reactions is called as the reducing agent. Commonly, fuel contains a carbon along with a combination of hydrogen and oxygen.